Just over a month ago, I attempted a rim-to-rim-to-rim backpacking trip of the Grand Canyon. In winter, in 9 feet of snow, and it almost killed me, literally. And while there were many things that played a role in saving my life, today I'm going to talk through some of the gear I brought that I would trust my life to again. Okay, so if you missed that video, you can see it linked below in the description. About a month ago, we made that trip happen, and it was pretty extreme. So I'm going to talk through just some of the gear that I brought on the trip. This is sort of a gear loadout, but it's not a complete gear loadout because it's definitely not going to be everything. It's just going to be some of the items that stood out to me from that trip that were like, wow, I am so glad I brought that. Let's talk about the snowshoes that I brought. This is one of the pieces of gear that I would be very excited to take again in a situation like that, and I was extremely thankful to have these. These are just really expensive snowshoes that I've had for a few years, and I've only backpacked 3 times ever in snowshoes, and 2 of them were this year. And that's just because I live in Wisconsin, and a lot of the trips I take, it just, you know, the weather didn't work to need snowshoes. So in most of the trips that I've been on. So these are MSR Lightning Accents, really expensive snowshoes, lightweight, fantastic. I like them for a couple of big reasons. One, they're super easy to put on, like really easy. There's not a lot of straps. You can strap them on without even taking off gloves. So that's really nice. And then the bottoms here are just teeth absolutely everywhere to give you tons of grip in snow, ice, whatever. And then I also like this little bar that pops up, so that way if you are going uphill, your foot stays level. So that's kind of nice, and it doesn't feel like you're going up like a hill to tire out your feet and calves and things like that as you're going up. It's almost like you're going up steps rather. So that's really nice. And I also like that the teeth are on the side here, so if you do have to sidestep up a hill, they're great. But these were, man, we never would have been able to even attempt the trip had we not had snowshoes. We were hoping, when I flew out there with them, I was like, oh man, I hope that we find out that there's not snow, because nobody wants to backpack in snowshoes. At least long distances, you don't. It's just not fun. It's just a lot of extra work. You think that snowshoes are going to be like, you know, making it easier to hike. It just makes it so that you don't sink in the snow. They're heavy, and when you sink in the snow sits on top of it, so you're kind of pulling it back out of the snow. It just makes it so that you're capable. It doesn't really make it that much easier. So yeah, but these were definitely a must-have game changer for that trip for sure. And then along with the snowshoes, these trekking poles. I did a whole video on these trekking poles a few years ago, and these are awesome. I've probably had this exact pair for maybe 3 years now, and I like them a lot. So what was necessary for this trip is that we needed snow baskets. These are not the snow baskets that come with this trekking pole. I got a whole bin of snow baskets, and they're from just random trekking poles that have been sent to me. And I just grabbed these because I thought they were going to fit, and they did not fit. So I had to tape, I don't know if you can see that there, I had to tape this on here, because once we stuck it in the snow and you tried to pull it out, the snow basket would just pop right off. So thankfully that tape held. But these were a game changer for that entire trip, going downhill, going uphill, and in the snow, especially trying to balance on pretty treacherous switchbacks. If you're not a trekking pole user, and for whatever reason, whether you think they're dorky or something like old guys use or whatever, that's ridiculous. These are game changing. They are helpful for so many reasons, to help your knees, help your back, help your legs, help you get uphill, help you get downhill. And for me, the biggest thing isn't really that, although those are all big things. It's so that I don't fall. I have fallen many times in the backcountry, and trekking poles have saved my butt from actually getting really injured. So yeah, these were awesome and a total game changer for that trip. I'm so thankful that I picked this backpack. It is the ZPACKS, oh my gosh, Arc Hall, I think it is. We'll put the name up on the screen. But it is a look at all the stuff I still got in it. It's an extremely lightweight backpack. Weighs just over like 20 ounces, I think, maybe like 23 ounces or something. And this is a 70-liter backpack. So that's mainly why I brought it, because it's got a lot of capacity, and we were hiking with winter gear, so that's going to take up a lot more bulk. But it's so lightweight, I would take this all year long. If you're going to buy a really lightweight backpack, don't be concerned about getting like the 40-liter pack. If those ultralight companies can give you a 70-liter version for just a couple ounces more, you're going to be so glad you got the bigger version, because there are going to be times a year you're going to need to have more capacity to carry like winter-style stuff. And plus, there's going to be times when you're going to want to like go on short trips where you're going to want to bring more stuff just because you want to bring more stuff. So don't chintz out on your backpack and get those really tiny liter backpacks because all the ultralight guys are doing it, and you're gonna look like some guy who doesn't ultralight because you got the big pack. Get the big pack. That's my recommendation. So, okay, I'll get off my soapbox on that. But the reason I love this backpack is because I have this packed out with like 34 or 35 pounds worth of gear, all in, food, water, fuel for that trip. I had a bunch of concerns for this trip. One of them was I wanted the most lightweight setup I could get that would handle the conditions that we were going into. And we were going into conditions that were really cold and a lot of snow, but then also we were in the bottom of the canyon where the weather was like 40 or 50 degrees warmer. So I knew that we were going to be hiking in like multiple climates. And I wanted a setup that was going to be conducive for that. So the pack size for this is perfect. It's extremely lightweight. And then what blows me away about this backpack, and why this is like hands down my favorite backpack right now, is that even at like 35 pounds, I felt zero strain on my shoulders. Not one time on that trip did I feel like, oh, I've got to adjust it because my shoulders hurt because the backpack's so heavy. This thing remarkably carries the weight super well, even with these really thin carbon fiber, poles that are sort of the frame for the pack. I don't know how ZPACKS did it, but this backpack is worth every penny. This is an extremely expensive backpack. This is like a $400 backpack, and there's not much to it. But I'm just gonna say this. You spend a lot of money on your tent. If you're going backpacking a lot, you're spending a ton of money on a tent. You're spending a ton of money on a sleeping pad, a sleeping bag, all of the other gear, and you have to carry all that stuff. Don't chintz out on your backpack. So if you can afford it, I'm gonna recommend this backpack hands down as my favorite backpack. This thing is incredible, and I'm so glad I have it. If I have any like sort of beef with this backpack at all, it's that these hip belt, sort of the attachment here in the front, it's just a little short, and they're a little bit awkward to loosen up. But other than that, man, I don't have a bad thing to say about this pack. This thing is awesome. So this was a piece of gear that I did not have to worry about one time on that trip, and I'm so thankful that I had this on that trip. Let's talk about my shelter that I brought. We have a full video review coming up on this tent here. This is the DURSTON X-Mid Pro one-person tent. So what do I have to say about this tent? Well, you'll find out in a future video. Just know that there's very little bad things I have to say about this tent. The reason I brought it is because it only weighs a pound, and because I wanted something extremely easy to set up. And I didn't want to have to worry about like wind and all that stuff. And previous X-Mids have done fantastic in that sort of stuff. And being in the Grand Canyon, weather there is obviously unpredictable. So there could have been a ton of wind, and I just didn't want to have to deal with that. The only issue that I had with this tent, which I didn't even have technically because I didn't set this up on the rim, and if you want to know why, you got to go back and watch that video, is that when you're setting up a trekking pole tent in 9 feet of snow, how do you get your trekking poles to stay in the snow and hold up this tent without sinking down? Well, we did that with these enormous snow baskets here. So that's how we did that, and it worked. So thankful for that, thankful for this tent. I'm glad we had this one because it only weighed a pound, so it really took a lot of the strain out of my backpack, and out of my entire situation, and helped me get to that North Rim. Right before we left for the trip, HILLSOUND is a website that makes crampons, and they make micro spikes and things for your boots and shoes. And they reached out and asked if they could send us some of these. I'm so thankful they did, because we needed an extra pair because I had Emmett coming. And these are pretty beefy, and they wrap around your boot, your shoe, and they work really well. And they give you all the grip that you need to get up on icy terrain. So these are a necessity in the situation that we were in. So you can physically not go uphill on ice, but these make all the difference in the world. So HILLSOUND, thank you guys for sending those out. Check them out. I'll link them in the description below, but that was really awesome that they sent these. These are their trail crampons. And then I want to talk about here my shoes. These are the Keen, oh gosh, I did a whole video on these. Bellow Flex, I think they are. Yeah, the Keen Bellows Flex. I did a video on these maybe a year and a half ago or so, or 2 years ago. My shoes were one of the pieces of gear that I had like the most trouble trying to figure out for this trip, because we were going to be in multiple climates, because we were going to be hiking so many miles in warmer, you know, situations where all I really needed was like a trail runner. But then we were also going to be in extremely deep snow, and yeah, they're still pretty nasty. But I wanted something that was waterproof, lightweight, beefy, was going to be decently warm because I knew we'd be in really cold temperatures, and obviously my feet would be in deep snow. And I wanted something that was just going to work. And I went back and forth on so many different pairs of shoes and boots, and I ended up on these, and I'm so glad I did. I don't normally talk about shoes on the channel, but I'll just tell you my experience with these and why I like them. They have a, there's so much dirt and mud. They have a wide toe box here. That may not look wide, but I can spread my toes out in here and do that very easily. To me, that's important, because if I find that if the toe box is, you know, really narrow, that means that my toes are going to be together and they're going to be potentially rubbing each other, which will give me blisters. So I like that for that reason. And then, man, these were just really great. Every time I would kick a piece of ice or snow, this toe here is really solid, so I don't have to worry about it. And then they are not insulated, but they're a little bit thicker than the average trail runner, so they were warm enough for me even in that deep snow, and gaiters worked great with these. So even when my foot went into deep snow, like up to my knee, I never got snow inside of my shoe, and I want to give credit to the gaiters for that. But I'm so glad that I brought these over just regular trail runners for that trip. Yeah, these are really nice shoes. Let's talk about the jacket that I brought. This is an extremely expensive jacket. Yes, I know that. Like, it's out of control expensive. It's like over $400. It's close to like $500 jacket. And I know that, okay? This isn't for everybody. But I was really looking for a jacket that was extremely lightweight. I was trying to keep my pack weight down as much as possible because I knew that I would have issues going up those switchbacks. I always have issues going up. It's just tough for me. So this jacket is a jacket that weighs like 8.5 ounces, I think, all in. And it's 1,000 fill down, which is insane. And the loft is a 4-season loft. So I was warm to below 20 degrees Fahrenheit in this jacket for 8.5 ounces. I mean, seriously. So huge shout out to MONTBELL for making, in my opinion, the best backpacking jacket on the market, hands down. Fully featured with pockets, and it's got a hood and just, you know, cinches and everything. It's a full feature jacket for that weight. As warm as it is, that's crazy. This is close to twice as warm as my Mountain Hardwear Ghost Whisperer jacket. So think about that. Yes, there are much less expensive jackets on the market, but I would not take any of those on a trip like this as my only jacket because they're not warm enough. If you want a nice warm jacket that's going to be lightweight, you're going to spend some money on it. You really are. So if you got it, I recommend this jacket. Let's talk about the sleep system I brought. Obviously, I wanted something warm. I wanted something comfortable. So you can probably already guess what I brought for a sleeping pad. I brought this. This is the THERMAREST NEOAIR XTHERM. This is a 6.9 R value sleeping pad. So you can lay this directly on snow, which is what we did, and you'll be warm. You won't feel the cold underneath you. So that's why we brought this pad. And this one weighs, oh gosh, I want to say like, I don't know, somewhere between 17 and 20 ounces all in. This is the long version. It's a sleeping pad that's got by far the best warmth to weight ratio, for sure. And let's talk about my sleeping bag that I brought. So, a little too big to be putting up on the table here, but this is a Outdoor Vitals Summit 0 degree sleeping bag. And I have two of these. I've got a negative 15 degree bag in the Summit, and then I also have this one. And they're new to me this year. Actually, I bought the negative 15 degree one like a year ago, but I just never used it because it never got down to that temperature. So it's new to me as in using it. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is one of the best sleeping bags I have ever used. And for a couple reasons. It is very lightweight for what it is. The unique thing about this sleeping bag is that the zipper goes up the center of the sleeping bag. So, what does that mean? That means you can lay on your back and zip it straight up. It also means that this can lay on its side and the zipper isn't in a place where you can't get to it. This bag was built for every type of sleeper. So the person who sleeps on their back, the person that sleeps on their side. So it's, for me, a perfect sleeping bag. I can sleep in any position in this bag and not have to worry about being cold because the insulation all the way around is the same. So it's the same on the top, the same on the sides, the same on the bottom. And a lot of manufacturers strategically place their down in bags because they want that bag to be as lightweight as possible. They want that bag to be as lightweight as possible. And so they're trying to, you know, cut corners essentially in the insulation so that it's going to be lighter weight for the user. So they're assuming you're going to sleep in one position and stay in one position the entire time that you're out at camp in your tent. So, and then this bag is rated properly. So, okay, I was cold in this bag at 16 degrees, but it wasn't because of the bag. It was because of the medical condition that I was in. And you got to go back and watch that video to see why. I am confident I could bring this bag down to probably 5 to 10 degrees Fahrenheit before I would feel any sort of a chill in it at all. So huge shout out to Outdoor Vitals for making a fantastic sleeping bag. Oh, and this thing is super inexpensive for what it is. So now there is a piece of gear you're probably wondering why I didn't put on this list, and that is the GARMIN INREACH Mini, which is the satellite communicator that I bring on all my trips. It has an SOS button that can call for rescue, which is what we had to do. We had to call for rescue. And yeah, obviously that's an important piece of gear, but I didn't use it on this trip to call rescue. We had a cell phone signal, so I didn't want to like throw that on the list. But of course, that's a very important piece of gear as well. So, all right, you guys, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Leave some comments below if you got anything to say about the gear that I brought on this trip. And we will see you on the next one.